and everything changed in a second. And that's what I want to talk about. Life is short and it's fragile.
Welcome to this deep dive into the life of Portia de Rossi, an actress, activist, and one-time half of one of Hollywood's most talked about couples. Her journey began quietly, across the globe in Australia, where childhood tragedy shaped her outlook on life. Today, we'll explore her transformation, her struggles, and how love both lifted and ultimately tested her, ending in a divorce that shocked many. Settle in, because we're pulling back the curtain on a story filled with reinvention, heartbreak, and, ultimately, the hope of healing. Before she was Portia de Rossi, she was Amanda Lee Toisantame Rogers, a little girl growing up in the suburban calm of Geelong, Victoria. Life wasn't always bright. At just 9 years old, she lost her father, Barry Rogers. Imagine that moment. One day, you're a carefree child. The next, you're facing a loss no kid should have to endure. Her mother, Margaret, became the anchor of the household, juggling work as a medical receptionist while grappling with her own grief. Meanwhile, Amanda, still so young, tried to make sense of a world turned upside down. During her teenage years, she did some modeling for print ads and TV commercials. Yet even in front of the camera, she felt like an outsider looking in. At 15, she made a bold, almost cinematic decision. She renamed herself Portia, taken from a Shakespearean heroine, and De Rossi, an Italian surname that felt sophisticated. It was more than a name change. It was her way of stepping into a new skin. She was done being Amanda Rogers, the girl defined by loss. She wanted to be someone else entirely. With her new identity, Portia de Rossi set her sights on acting. In 1994, she nabbed a small role in the Australian film Sirens. But like many actors with grand dreams, she headed for Los Angeles, the city of angels and heartaches. At first, it wasn't all red carpets and champagne. Portia fought hard to find roles, even working diligently to soften or lose her Australian accent, hoping it would help her blend into the American acting scene. For a while, she was nearly invisible, a newcomer trying to stand out among thousands. Then came her big break. In 1998, she was cast as the coolly elegant lawyer Nell Porter on the hit series Ally McBeal. Finally, the spotlight found her. Yet hidden behind that polished TV persona was a woman haunted by a secret she couldn't share with the world. Back in the 90s, being openly gay in Hollywood could mean risking your entire career. Portia felt that fear acutely. She'd look around at other stars and wonder, if people find out who I really am, will I ever work again? In 1996, she married filmmaker Mel Metcalf. But it wasn't the typical story of love at first sight. Not surprisingly, the relationship crumbled by 1999, leaving her with more questions than answers about who she was and what she really wanted. After that, Portia dated director Francesca Gregorini from 2000 to 2004. Even then, she kept her real self behind a carefully guarded wall, too terrified to announce publicly that she was a lesbian. The pressure, the double life, it was all becoming too heavy to bear. In 2004, destiny gave Portia de Rossi a new path. She was reacquainted with comedian and talk show host Ellen DeGeneres. Ellen was already a trailblazer, having come out on national television in 1997. She knew exactly how brutal the backlash could be. When Portia stepped into Ellen's orbit, she felt a spark, something she later described as an instant, comforting connection. Over dinners, quiet nights at home, and whispered conversations, Ellen offered Portia a glimpse of what life could be like if she embraced her truth. In 2005, Portia decided she couldn't hide anymore. She gave interviews to Details in The Advocate, confirming her relationship with Ellen and publicly revealing she was a lesbian. A weight lifted, no more living in fear. Portia and Ellen's love story quickly became a shining symbol for the LGBTQ+ community. Reporters and fans adored seeing them together. In 2008, they tied the knot in an intimate ceremony in Beverly Hills. For so many same-sex couples who yearned for recognition, it was a triumphant moment, one that gave hope the times were truly changing. But even fairy tales have challenges. While she was finally comfortable in her sexuality, Portia continued to wrestle with long-time body image struggles. During her Ally McBeal years, she had suffered from anorexia and bulimia, and those wounds don't simply vanish overnight. In her 2010 autobiography, Unbearable Lightness, she laid it all out. how the pressure to be flawless on TV had led to a punishing cycle of disordered eating. By 2018, she stepped away from acting entirely, announcing her retirement, though she made room for the Arrested Development revival. For Portia, it was time to cultivate a life beyond the showbiz frenzy. While Portia was re-evaluating her life, Ellen was on a relentless path of her own. After her initial sitcom was canceled post-coming out in 1997, Ellen made a historic comeback with the Ellen DeGeneres show. For nearly 2 decades, she danced onto our TV screens, bringing celebrity interviews, goofy games, and a persona that radiated kindness. Behind the scenes, though, Ellen carried the weight of a difficult childhood, her parents' divorce, an abusive stepfather, and the lingering scars of trauma. And as her show soared in popularity, allegations arose that behind the sunny smiles was a workplace rife with tension and toxicity. An investigation in 2020 confirmed staff complaints, tarnishing that squeaky clean image. Portia supported her publicly, but there's no denying the strain that scandal placed on their marriage. Despite being one of Hollywood's most visible couples, whispers started years earlier, around 2014, suggesting that they were drifting apart. Ellen's intense filming schedule, combined with the pressure of maintaining her nice persona, left precious little time for intimacy and connection. Portia, who had long struggled to define herself independently, found it increasingly difficult to stand in Ellen's formidable shadow. At home, discussions turned into disagreements into arguments. By 2018, Ellen flirted with the idea of ending her daytime show, hoping it might restore some balance to her life with Portia. But the lure of continuing her success proved too strong, and she renewed her contract instead. When 2020 arrived, a global pandemic forced everyone to stay at home, but it didn't bring Portia and Ellen closer. Ellen's show faced mounting allegations about a toxic work environment. Suddenly, the world's media had them under a harsher spotlight than ever before. While Portia publicly backed her wife, the behind-the-scenes stress was immense. Imagine being cooped up together while the entire internet questions your relationship and your character. Ellen struggled to manage the crisis. Portia felt increasingly sidelined. It was a perfect storm, one that would ultimately lead them to a heartbreaking decision. After years of trying to patch the cracks, Ellen and Portia decided to divorce. The announcement sent shockwaves through fans who had admired their journey from closeted caution to public celebration. Portia later explained it quietly. "We tried, we really did. But sometimes, 2 people can't bridge the growing divide, no matter how strong the love once was. So, where does that leave Portia de Rossi?" After stepping back from acting, she has focused on living more authentically, supporting charitable causes, championing animal rights, and learning little by little to find her own voice beyond the Hollywood glare. Sometimes, the bravest act is choosing yourself, even when it means walking away from the person you thought you'd share forever with. Portia's story is one of reinvention. A girl from small-town Australia who faced enormous loss, battled self-doubt and secrecy, soared to stardom, found love, and ultimately had to let love go. In the wake of the divorce announcement, the public reaction ranged from disbelief to empathy. Many supporters flooded social media, sharing messages of encouragement, while critics dissected every known detail, speculating about who was to blame, what really happened, and whether either of them would speak more openly about the split. Through it all, Portia maintained a measured silence, granting only glimpses into her emotional state. She acknowledged that sometimes caring isn't enough to keep 2 people together. Away from the camera flashes, Portia chose a different path for herself. In interviews, she hinted at a renewed focus on personal well-being, embracing journaling, therapy, and quiet reflection. Having spent decades in the public eye, she recognized the need to process her pain privately. Philanthropic work with various animal rights organizations became her solace, a place where she could channel her compassion and love, free from the demands of red carpets and constant media scrutiny. Yet the most significant shift was internal. No longer tethered to Ellen's demanding schedule, Portia explored entrepreneurial and creative outlets. She found a deeper sense of purpose in shaping her own business ventures, ones that aligned with her values of sustainability, ethical living, and empathy for all creatures. Though she'd been known for her acting and public roles behind the scenes, she was quietly crafting a new identity as a thought leader, mentor, and patron of causes dear to her heart. In the months following the divorce, she reached out to close friends and confidants, rebuilding a support network she'd allowed to slip under the pressures of marriage to one of the world's most famous entertainers. They recalled how she rediscovered her witty sense of humor, her love for simple pleasures like home-cooked meals, and the joy she felt in slow, mindful living. Where once she felt overshadowed, Portia now stepped into a calm, self-defined spotlight. Naturally, fans wondered if a reconciliation was ever possible, but sources close to the pair suggest they've found a peaceful acceptance. "We'll always care for each other," Portia confessed, "but right now, our paths are different." Indeed, the heartbreak is real, but so is the relief of letting go when something no longer fits. As she navigates public events, carefully chosen and sparing, Portia carries herself with a new kind of grace. The heartbreak has softened into resolve. The frantic pace of being a Hollywood power couple has been replaced by measured, intentional living. It's not the ending anyone predicted, but it might just be the new beginning she has long sought, a chance to reclaim her voice, healing on her own terms. As Portia herself might say, the journey to wholeness isn't always easy, but it's worth every step. What do you think about her powerful story? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more in-depth looks behind the headlines.